All right, well, I don't know what we're gonna talk about, but uh, I guess we'll see how this goes since I'm always talking a ton on my stories, and I don't want to keep cutting myself off when I'm on such a good thought. But I guess I could use this as a reflection of the day and use it in a way to kind of tuck myself to sleep and stake this day as a close, which actually, now that I think about it, I do have something to share. Um, if you think about the past, for some people they like to hold on to it even though a new day has come, which means a new day for yourself is to take on new experiences, or with this new day, take on what you've already learned and carry that over to stack it upon something new plus what you've learned to expand your experience or expand your skill or what have you. But when I think of yesterday's, it's not so much of a thing to be attached to. It's more so a reminder of what did I like about yesterday and what I didn't like. And from that entry of yourself, you can then be pretty objective and start taking or letting go of stuff that you liked or didn't like or wanted to work on, or it's just not valuable anymore. And then by a hair's movement, start going in the direction to further understanding yourself as you are one day older, which is a good reminder if you have another day to live. It's not so much of the made up time that you have in your head, it's just to make the moments of this day count. So it's just as a full circle, a life well lived. I was just kind of thinking about this in perspective, I guess, in creation for, I guess, in a career or for anything that you enjoy. We'll just say the topic of success. Now, most people think successful as millions or doing all these crazy things that you would see on social media that takes into effect of a moment to compare yourself with. But we forget that the people that are either blowing up now have made really incredible sacrifices, or they worked long enough as an underdog to now there's a platform for them to jump off and blow up, say to speak, because in reality, it still takes time to build upon these skills, build these relationships, um, put down these railroad tracks so your success train can then start to take off and choo choo away into fantasy. Um, but again, I'm just saying, like, not much has changed. The internet just makes things faster. You have a wider range of audience, and it can take you and open up doors to places that you would least expect or where you think your content would take off. But I don't want to go too far off. What I'm saying about just for today is yeah. Oh, sorry, I was talking about success. But okay, so in terms of thinking about today in reflection, uh, things that I'm letting go of. And when I started this page, it came more from a place of I'm looking around. It's still kind of like mid Instagram days where people are still trying to figure out how to game the system and show only one side of themselves. and then kind of corner and pocket themselves and market it as that, and then build content around that to kind of share one perspective on the post, thinking that, say you see a thing with the caption was like, just thinking about this today, but it's just for the photo. In reality, like, they don't give a fuck about that thing, but it gets you hooked onto the post to acknowledge this person and think of it in some way. And it's like putting on the mask and the costume just for the post, so it builds repertoire and builds traction for that person's brand or internet personality, which is kind of crazy because I've been hearing a lot more stories where the grass isn't really greener on the other side, which I like to remind myself that the grass is greener where you stand, that you are the main character of your story. You can rewrite the script, you can imagine it in a different way and tackle it so it becomes more and more clear, and there's a lot more clarity to what you actually want, because not everybody wants to have millions. Some people have a lower threshold that they're happy with. I don't want to say comfortable, because there should still, or not should, there's always going to be some type of obstacle through whatever level of life that is the equivalent to that person's hard, versus someone else going the more traditional route of success and doing the millions of stuff. But then again, I'm still having my own experience with this, so this is me and a snapshot of how I thought of it at 28, which is a very nice and gray, adaptable area. It's definitely changed from where I first started, trying to like find a niche and then blow up in that niche with something that I enjoyed, but it wasn't something that was naturally what comes out of me. I definitely had to work hard. And looking back in hindsight, there was so many other things I could have changed, but I wouldn't have known that if it was the right or wrong thing. Only after I made those decisions, like my relationship with my son and stuff, and his learning curve of things, I definitely chose to do music than to participate in some nights that could have bettered his education and stuff like that, because of having a really bad grasp of things and having to balance like real life and what I thought was really going on the internet, which wasn't. I kind of forgot what we were talking about, but oh, success, sorry. So like how different people have success, you should still feel happy, or you should have a outlook of what success is. It shouldn't be such a like black and white thing. It's not super linear. It's very like gray, and then it's very like there's a lot of uncertainties, but it's very expanded and open, and in an appreciative sense, being that you're still a successful musician looking at the light of things if you manage to understand some scale. Even to the smallest things, you should celebrate that. If you wanted to be like a really good athlete and you hit your workout today, dude, pat yourself on the back and appreciate that you're putting just that extra effort into something you enjoy and seeing if that sticks, because life is just one big expression of the things that you want and the things that you enjoy and things you like spending your time on and getting really good at that. And I think we're just getting more of a definition of all that with this quarantine, and being able to focus and magnify on really things that matter. For me, it's been family. For me, it's like being really clear about what I want my life to be and making that sort of a everyday occurrence versus a traditional final destination or checking off the boxes. So I guess in some way, yesterday we know is already gone. It's just a recollection of, did I like this? Did I not like? Did I not like this? I'm gonna keep that because that was really cool, and then I'm gonna work upon that to then compound and build a really good skill from there. Or, hey, I don't like that, or this relationship didn't work out. There wasn't any sort of alignment that bettered the both of us. So, out of compassion and using selfish in a really strong and empathetic way, I'm going to make the decision for myself that it's better that we don't chat or whatever it may be. If you understand that context of being selfish to know what you want and guiding yourself to see through, even if it might be a tough decision to do. I usually think of things when your life is hard, it's just you outgrowing the old ways of doing things and transitioning into a new thing or a new way and a new, not attempt, but like a new way of executing what your life is now and being okay with that. Being okay to just set your mind to doing something, but not needing to have all the answers. That would be like calling your future self and then asking a timeline from this point on and up what's gonna happen. Like, that would be so fucking boring to just like know it all. I guess in Back to the Future, same thing. Like, at the end, Marty's just happy that, well, he did get to fix some things, but for the most part, it's just kind of like appreciating what he has, and the future is in no way definite, and it really all depends on what you do today while also honoring the uncertainties to come. That's how I see it as. I know there's much of a more Hollywood ending to that, but in this recollection, in this reality that I see, um, that's kind of the base of it all. I'm really trying to get my head wrapped around for tomorrow because I've been like changing from producing dubstep and stuff like that in dance music, and right now it's like really boring to me, and the quality of stuff is like dropped down, and there's not a whole lot of people wanting to become artists and do something different. It's just like everyone's throwing in the pool just to kind of fit in or to stay afloat, and I don't know, there's only very few people out there as an appreciation of art or appreciation of expressing one's true self. But in no way am I saying this to be like rude to anyone. This would just be if I were to do it or what I would like to see. I'd want that to happen. So that's why I decided to take it in my own hands, but not for dance music. It's just going one deeper. I love music. So I wanted to figure out what I enjoy the most about it and tackle it, and then seeing where that goes. And if one area sticks, then I'll stick with that. If not, then I have other interests. And I was gonna get to that point too. Like, imagine how beautiful our world would be if more people were able to be courageous enough to show more of the things that they're into, more sides of themselves, to have more range and to have more interests come into fruition. It would be so cool, and we would be able to see it as an example and be able to kind of digest this a little bit more from people to people, that everybody is unique, that no two people are the same, even though they might like one thing that connects them. There's like a billion other things that they differ from, but it's also really cool. And if we were able to bring this to the table in the conversation and have an open mind, we'd be able to converge in a way where it's just like you can really be whoever you want, but to get everybody on that same page, there's a lot of strong beliefs and stories. But that is neither my job or yours. Our only job is to be a good example, to just treat people how we want to be treated, and to take that courageous step to be an example and live by example versus just running our mouth, which is, I guess, another point of something to kind of notice is when you're looking at people you admire, take the time to like follow the actions and not the words, because everyone can kind of gab off a bunch of like clever things, but to actually go through it every day and show like you're working through things and you're very human, it really drops the bar down to like other people when they're striving to do something that there's no filter, there's no like faking that you need to do. It's just like, wow, for this person to allow them to open their doors and I guess have a second to like understand them as a human being as they would to you, it's so much easier to have all the positive traits that we would like to see in the world by just kind of sharing ourselves in this way and not really judging our character. That's another play too as we go on with this date coming to a close, is whatever happens, right or wrong, like do not judge yourself, but to look at it in a way where, again, objectively just understand like, oh, this is the kind of person that I was, or these are the traits that I have. You can almost look at yourself like a baseball card or like a, I don't know, fighting character with all your stats or whatever it may be. Something fun to visualize, so it's just like entertaining for yourself. I like to use my imagination a lot to just get a better sense of things and to really have more clarification on a concept or like a really big idea that's fun and digestible to myself, so then I can teach it to others by living that and then making cool shit like this. So yeah, that's one thing you can do. But yeah, I guess like not judging yourself and being really kind and allowing yourself to have more play. I've been able to do this more often and it's really fun to take the time to slow down, take the time to be okay. I've been using this like music theory app and I tried a different clef, which is kind of like the low notes. I did the bass clef and I really like hit a low score even taking my time to understand it, because like the line shift, it's a whole big thing. But when I would get stuff wrong on this app, I would just have like a big ego trip. I'm like, oh my god, I need to have this perfect, but it was like perfect in my head in order to show off that I was doing good, which is like not okay. So I've been able to just kind of laugh when I make mistakes and know like I'm not perfect, and over time I'll be able to understand this. And sure enough, it's been like 2 weeks and I'm really like grasping onto that. So to just not count the days, but to just live those moments and to honor my approach and to honor the action, to follow through with the things that you say you're gonna do, is a lot more fun than to kind of just like look at it schematically or on a paper as like a task of things to do, almost like a robot, and have no emotion or human touch or ability or sense to just understanding like you're gonna mess up. Some days are gonna be really overwhelming, and if it is too much, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to go back and see what's best for you and what are your options, and then from there move on. So that'd be my reflection for the day. Just to kind of think of how simple life can really be by being clear about like what you want to do. I really stopped counting. I forgot what day it was today, other than I knew I had to go to work. Really just kind of stuff on the basics, but other than that, like my mind is only wrapped up to doing a few things, and I like it this way of just needing to get the essential stuff down, and sure enough, it'll take off and be something, or it'll then grow to its equivalent skill, which then comes back to me being happier because I'm understanding more of myself and being able to guide, say, this skill with music theory that could take me to maybe not producing now, but in the future, just training my ear leads to some other thing. There's so many things that we can't really attest for or understand until it's just kind of one of those things you're like, why does this make sense? Oh, because in those yesterdays of my life, I did this, this, and this, so now I have those stacked abilities that could carry me on to tomorrow. But that's the thing, it's just like living these moments and not taking it so seriously. Obviously, it's really important to have some sort of schedule or sort of thing to follow if you need it. And I think when you're just starting and you're starting to organize your life, it's really important. But once you get it going, once you have the momentum, you just have to make tiny shifts, and then you're off. And if you fall off, then that's when it's time to be honest with yourself and then start cutting out the things that are taking your time, that aren't really investments but are wasting your time. You'd probably be asking me like, but didn't you just say time is like a made up thing? Well, I mean it in a sense of like not in a structure base, like a 24-hour base. It's just like the moment of doing something. If you wanted to do, say you wanted to bake, but you spent most of your time looking up how timber wood is put together. I don't know, something stupid like that. Like, how does that relate to baking unless you're looking at that sort of information for like cutting boards? That's another way for like an equivalent skill to build. Stupid stuff like that connect. But that's what I mean. It doesn't have to be complicated if you actually really take the time to understand the context, which I hope you do. So I'm like walking you through it, but also having a rant. And it's cool because I don't have to hold my phone and like get it in a small time. So yeah. As far as the little shifts, it's been fun to explore. It's been fun to give myself the freedom to, one, enjoy myself as I'm realizing as I get older, there's more responsibility. My parents are getting older. My son's getting older. I myself have to meet up to not tomorrow's expectations, but to carry on with understanding like today is done. So today's thinking has to stay with today. And tomorrow, when tomorrow comes, there's a new thinking, there's new shoes to fill, and there is a bigger land to explore. Kind of like Lion King, like everything the light touches is yours, and that's a lot when you wake up. So to understand this freedom that surrounds you, why not give yourself the gift to be a part of it, or know that it's all encompassing, know that with love in yourself, that whatever you want to do consciously um, is pretty chill by, you know, not judging, allowing yourself the freedom, um, not defining so strongly on what it has to be or not has to be. Because how do you know for sure? It's just your take on things in a way comboed with what other people see and other information that you picked up that sort of kind of makes your opinion too. So sometimes you won't even really know a sometimes you really wouldn't know what an opinion is like after you see through it, if it's true or not, when you go through, and unless you go through the experience and you look in hindsight and think of, say, your opinion on something or like a statement you thought was true or false, and then the exact opposite might prove you wrong, and it takes that honesty with yourself to kind of drop your pride and be able to understand, like, I'm just here for the truth. I guess that's what we're after in the end of the day, is like, well, what is the truth? What is how I define myself to be today? Who is this? Who am I? Like these really big questions to kind of ask yourself daily, and take each day as a new moment, a new chance to explore, not just like sitting in routine, carrying on yesterday's troubles or yesterday's good or bad experiences or great triumphs, and bringing it to tomorrow, because tomorrow's gonna need much different in order for that to be worthwhile. If not, then it just becomes a really dull existence. That's why I kind of like in my bio I put joy of existence, because I saw it on I forgot what artist it was. I think it was Jim Morrison, but he was talking about how young adults have this kind of joy of existence, or for some lack thereof, and they don't realize like how beautiful it is to be young and to understand like you have so much room for expression before things start to kind of close in, and you kind of have to carry yourself in this way that from here on out it's always going to be like this. It always has been like this. It's only until you take on other people's beliefs and other ways how they see life to make it yours where it gets really confusing, when naturally, like, you know what you want to do if you're able to listen to yourself or work on building yourself to the image that you see true. You know, kind of just thinking about it, it's like really nice to know that you have so much power in your hands, figuratively, like you have that ability to kind of do whatever you want. You are an artist, as what's his name? Let me see on my bookshelf real quick. Oh my god. I totally forgot. But like, yeah, he does mention like, you know, everyone is artists and everyone has their own way of telling their life, but most people aren't very aware of that, and they kind of just go on to following a narrative that was set a long time ago that is still very true today. And to see something different, to see something on more of a contrarian side, kind of shakes things up. It can also make things confusing when it has to be set on extreme tones. And if we're able to just kind of open things like this with welcome arms and know like most of life is in this way, Why must we make it so difficult? It is really complex, and I'm not saying that it's simple, but it can be much easy taking the time to simplify and pick again objectively. Oh, this looks like something that makes sense to me. There's something here. I don't need this anymore. It wasn't working out for me. This is awesome. I like these people. These people are okay, but we didn't really click that much, and I'm only there for their convenience. Stuff like that. And, little by little, you start to kind of get better at this. And I'm not saying that you need to figure it out all in one day, but to take it moment by moment, take it day by day, and seeing where that goes. Sure enough, writing your own script, being your own star, seeing life as like this one big movie. Because if you think about your life from now to the beginning of it all, or as far as you can remember back, it almost seems like a movie. You think of all the good times and bad times collided all together, and sometimes it's all made up because it's so far behind. You start to kind of adjust some of the story so it sounds cooler than it was. But still, in that retrospect, it's still fun. You still experience life and learn things from that, whether good or bad. And it does seem just like one big movie. So why not treat it like this fun thing and be open to the idea that you are the star as much as everybody else is too. So let's get together and enjoy ourselves while we're here. And if there are more people to be out there and just express themselves to what's true for them now, like how much more of a happy retrospect would we see versus like people easily turning to hate and using that as a field to compete with one another, to game it in a way to be understood versus taking the time to be silent and give peace by just listening. You learn a lot like that by observing a lot. But nowadays, everyone has to have the last word or have like the coolest comeback. I don't know. It's a weird time if you're on the internet, but if you're not, everything is pretty beautiful to see for it, or what it is, or what your mind's eye is, seeing it as, and honoring that without any judgment. It's like a big thought, but I don't want to hold back. And I'm glad I don't get to, or not get to, I don't need to anymore. I never really saw myself to do like any philosophical work, but I tend to have very philosophic expressions. So I'm not even saying this as suggested advice. It's just if you found yourself here watching this, there's something mirroring within you that's a highlight that you very much are understanding now, which what you think is attractive in me, because you know that's something truthful in you. That's another way to get to understand people and to know, like, damn, why do I hang out with these people, or why don't I hang out with these people? And depending on those traits, then you get to understand more of yourself, because everyone's a mirror about what are the things going inside you. There's a lot of thoughts. I went on a long tangent, but Yeah, this is cool. It's actually very free, and I like this a lot more. So if you appreciate these videos and you took the time to watch them, that's really cool. Thank you. And if you even if you skim through it, but it was like out of some interest and you happen to like land on some timestamp that was like, whoa, I didn't think about it that way. That's also very cool. If you didn't like it, that's fine too. I hope that um, resonates in some way where you're like understanding the mirroring. Like, do I do that? Oh shit, I don't like that about myself. Yeah, because at the end, after I post this, um, not like in a non compassionate way, I'm just meaning I'm not attached to what happens to this content. Like, I don't care because I'm just going to continue to do the things that make me happy and are starting to kind of make sense of what I want my life to be right now at 28. Because it could be different in the next couple of years, but to give myself the patience and freedom to just be how I want to be is really fun. Yeah, so I guess see what your options are. Know that there's more than one story to experience something, and not everything's so black and white. Appreciate the uncertainties and appreciate how expansive really life is if you allow yourself to see it and kind of challenge your perspective and thinking on things, because you might end up changing your direction to something that best suits you, and that's more looking out for your own win, right? Be what makes you happy. This was fun. Good night.